Hey everyone, welcome in. Thank you for joining me. My name is Marlene and I am with A Room to Bloom. So, a couple of things that I'd like to bring forth right away, maybe a few things. I was just out at a park, so I made some videos out there, but the sun was, coming from behind me, so it was a little bit bright on the camera. So, you'll see I'm kind of wearing the same thing, but I am still feeling ready to bring forth more messages. So, one of the first things is today I had 7 rainbows on the floor in one room. And it started with one, and then it was two, and then all of a sudden it was three, right? And they were growing. And then as I looked around, then there was another place where they were over like a closet door, and then there was another one where they were over the doorway into the room. Actually, that's so interesting because of what I'm looking at. But rainbows coming through. And so rainbows can be the way that Spirit's showing you that even your loved ones are around, right? But also in the Bible, it's one of the promises of God, right? The rainbow is a reminder. And so it's really interesting that I have this in front of me. So I decided to make something. I know I'm getting reverb here. I decided to make something, but I haven't made it yet. And what I'm making involves having sprinkles on it, okay? And, I had sprinkles, but they were, I don't know, not right for this, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But so I went to get some sprinkles, not really knowing what they had. And, even though, like, I personally am trying to have less sugar, this type of thing, but I still have sugar, right? I mean, I do. It's one of those things. So it's about backing off of that or becoming more aware. But what's really interesting is when you pay attention to our foods, to the names in the foods. What is the message? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it's made by. It doesn't matter any of that. There are messages when you slow down. So I went looking for sprinkles, but I got a lot more than sprinkles. And so because I'm speaking of the rainbow, I actually was going to wait, but because it's sitting right in front of me, I'm going to go ahead and speak on it. So in these sprinkles, and I will show you the bottle, but I'm going to try to at least hide the name of the company who makes them, I guess. But okay, so I got 3 bottles, and that's what they had of this line of sprinkles, okay? The first line of sprinkles that I got, it's called the Forest Mix, okay? And so I'm just going to cover this up. The Forest Mix. That's not really very good, is it? Okay, so we're going to try to do this. The Forest Mix, that's what it says. And you can see in there that there are leaves, so that seemed appropriate as we are entering fall, right? Green, there's little trees. There's yellow leaves, a few blue and red sprinkles. So more towards the greens, okay? Now I'd like to encourage you to think about your earthly experience, okay? And this would be comparative to the 3rd dimension of the earthly experience, right? So things that are 3-dimensional. It has a top, it has a side, and it has a bottom, right? So a width. So 3-dimensional. We see it from 3 sides, okay? It's interesting that it's called the forest mix, right? Because it is in our earthly experience that the forest exists, right? Things of the earth. Now, also, it is in our earthly experience when we start it's in our earthly experience where we can sort of begin to feel a little lost because we start getting caught up into things. Think about Hansel and Gretel, who went through the forest, right? And they were leaving stuff behind so they didn't get in too deep, right? because, you know, there are things in our human experience that potentially interest, or I hear people say, shiny squirrel. I didn't even know what that meant until probably a few years ago. But it's like a distraction, right? Let's put this over here, right? Let's put this over here, or something pretty, so that you don't really pay attention to what else is going on. Okay, and so in our human experience, we might have people that encourage us to go into the forest. Okay, and I say people, but if you consider everyone an energy, and everyone embodies an energy, okay? So sometimes you're going to hear me interchange the people and energies, but like, you know, at a different place in my life, my energy was different, because our energy can go like this, right? And we can have super highs, lows, but on this journey, we start to learn how to hold our own at a particular vibration, if you will, meaning that not that much comes along and rocks the boat or throws us off course or this kind of thing. We can hold our own. And so we are tried and tested so that we become stronger in the vibration that we are, okay? So we get tested, and we get lured into, if you want to say, the forest of confusion, the forest of illusion, the forest of our human experience, right? And of course, we have lots of wonderful things in our human experience, but it is in the human experience where we can kind of get caught up in all different sorts of things. It could be a job you don't like. It could be a place you don't like. It resonated with you for a while or for a reason, but then you ended up staying there. You overstayed, right? For whatever reason, because maybe there were all these rabbit holes. Or the other thing that's coming to me is the proverbial carrot dangled in front of you. Oh, in a couple years we'll probably, or in a year we'll offer you this and you'll have this, right? And people keep hanging on, right? And so there's all these different things. And I have to tell you, I have never watched Alice in Wonderland, but I know that that's like a term from that, the rabbit hole, the idea of that. I've also never watched The Matrix. I went somewhere where they were trying to play it, but it was just like, it wasn't for me. So I have never watched that movie still. There's a lot of different things that I find fascinating on this journey that people speak about that I just didn't, that wasn't really my thing, right? So here's the first question. How do you feel in your human 3D earthly experience? Okay. How do you feel things are going? Do you feel like you are at the edge of the trees where you could go one way or the other? You know what I'm saying? You're close enough to the edge of the trees that you could go get lost in the forest, and yet there's sunshine right there on the edge. I mean, you could go get lost in the forest, or you can just be right on the edge of the forest where you have kind of experiences in both worlds. Now, this would also be like a medium who, like, say, crossing the veil. Okay, this is just an example that I'm coming up with right now. All right, but do you feel like, what trail have you been following, or what bits and pieces, or what are these called again? Sprinkles. What sprinkles have you been following that you kind of thought were pretty, but the truth is maybe they veered you off your path, your original path. And now you're trying to find your way back, but those sprinkles are no longer there. Why? Because others thought they were pretty, birds came along and ate them, whatever it was, right? So now you're potentially deeper in the forest, if you will, than you originally wanted to be. But what do? Do you keep going in circles, trying to get out of the forest? Or do you sit still and connect with your inner self, your inner light? Ask for guidance, right? Ask to be led out and into the light. Ask to find your way home. Ask for help, right? This is really just something to consider. How deep in the forest are you? Are you right on the edge where you're like, I'm good? But even if you're on the edge, are you so close to the edge that what's coming to me is, say somebody who's a recent, what do you call it, recovering from something, right? Addictions of some sort. And they're holding their own. They've been right on the edge, right? They've come out of the forest. They're right there. They might feel like going into the super bright sunlight's a little bright, or they feel so seen when they've been in the forest, right? So it's been hard, so they continue to stay right on the edge, right? Going, oh, but here I can dip my toes in here, and I don't feel as seen, which maybe makes me feel a little more safe, because here in the light, where the light is shining on stuff, it's like I might be speaking about my story, which I wasn't maybe ready to, so that's why one might stay on the edge, right? So just considering that, and if you recognize, if that is you, for whatever journey, stage of life you're in, but if you feel like you are on the edge, one phone call, one email, one temptation, right? That says, hey, you wanna just go do this, and you think you're all good. You think, hey, I'm good, right? I'm good. I've got this. And you are, say you're, whatever, a few days out of whatever, or a week out of recovery, or, whatever that is. A month out, the longer you're out, the stronger you become in knowing yourself, right? Know thyself. Without something that you sprinkle on top to numb pain, to cover up your anxiety, because a lot of people with spiritual, who are tapping into spirit, are having experiences, but they don't know how to describe it, and it just feels like, whoa, what, So what do? They're just very sensitive people. They might, what's the word? Self-medicate, whatever, to sort of dull that anxiety down, right? So that they feel like they can hold in their body versus be like all over. Okay. So again, if you are anywhere in that journey, or even if you know someone, this is not about pointing the finger at someone. You can recognize or see or whatever, but it's not about judging and calling people out and taking them down and having them transgress on the work that they've already done, right? It's more the idea of saying, okay, maybe I recognize or see that someone, they are on the edge of that. They've just kind of come out, they're whatever, and they could go one way or the other, right? It's a delicate balance. And so it's not about saying, hey, don't do that because we don't trust you, pushing them into the right further. Hey, don't do that, you're not good enough, pushing them in further. Rather than that, it's about an invite to something new, something lighter, something different, where it's like, oh, right? Because where thoughts go, energy flows. So it's about a redirection of energy. All right. So this is just asking the self that. Where am I in my human experience when it comes to the forest, which can be like getting caught up in the deeper we go into the forest, the darker it gets, because it gets thicker, it gets more dense, right? So just asking myself that question. All right, the next one it's called the rainbow mix. Okay, so here's that one, the rainbow mix. Now the rainbow mix, this is actually really interesting. I have a beautiful picture, and I've seen a few of them recently on YouTube or whatever, where somebody has taken a picture in the clouds and there's like these beautiful anomalies of rainbows, not the normal rainbows where it's the, you know, the bridge, but like these anomalies of different shaped clouds, but it's like this, you know, rainbow colors. And so one day I was driving and I asked my angels and guides to please show me a sign that oh, it's been a couple years, but on this particular one, just show me that they were with me or whatever it was. Instantly I got this that beautiful color in the sky, and I mean, I just was like, I was so moved, and I got a little bit of video. I drove a different way, I pulled over, I was taking pictures. It was so beautiful. So what happened is, so I'm in my earthly experience, right, but I'm tapping into my spiritual experiences, right, or I'm a spirit having a human experience, but I'm becoming more aware, or more, I am awakening in that example to the fact that there is more. And when I ask for help, I shall receive, which is like this poem behind me: ask and you shall receive, knock and the door will open, right? Seek and you shall find. And so the rainbow mix would be representative of like this fourth dimensional energy, and it could be higher, certainly, but let's just say, so you're in your earthly experience here with the forest, and let's just say there's a slight rain, and you're in the forest, and there's a mini clearing. Say you've gotten deep into the forest, but for, you know, it's like, you know how when people go, ah, like they see the light, right? It's like there's this mini clearing, and after that light rain there's this beautiful rainbow, and you see it. So even though you're in your human experience, you catch the rainbow, but you know that the rainbow is a gift to us, and it's coming from higher realms for us to see, higher vibrational realms. Or, but if we can see it, that means it's like messages of hope, right? Showing us that there is more than just the forest or the earthly experience. Okay. Now I thought these were awesome. When I was looking at these on the shelf, I thought, oh yeah, this is such a message, right? Okay, so the next one, it's called the Galaxy Mix. And this, you know, when you look at these colors, purple, blue, and white, it's like the beautiful night sky, cosmic. That's the word that comes to me, cosmic. And so it says galaxy, but it's the same thing. When you look up and you see twinkling and the sky, and you know, like I always say I'm wrong, the aurora. I know I'm not saying those lights, right, that come through. It's like almost like this combination of the two. In the dark sky comes these beautiful lights, and so you have like this sort of in between thing of, you know, as well, and the way that those play out, and how beautiful they are, and how they move people so greatly, right? But this fusion sprinkles, well, there, it's called Galaxy Mix, but the Galaxy Mix is like tapping into five dimensional and higher. In 5 dimension is where, like, definitely on the other side of the veil, right? But here's the thing, like, so think about yogis, mystics, etc., who are still in their body. Their body's still here on the earth. And it's like, but they're tapping into what? Some pretty cosmic stuff. Tapping in, bringing some pretty cosmic stuff. How does it get here? So here's the higher information, here's the other information. They raise their consciousness, becoming like a bridge between, this is also like a medium, a bridge between the higher realms and Now, this is the earthly experience. And so remember, the forest can get darker. so, so when you think about shamans, so shamans are able to, it's like going both directions, right? Going both directions, digging into the deep, digging into the darkness. And I say digging, but tapping into. And because they do, and because they can, it can be very hard on them. And that's why oftentimes in cultures, shamans and such were put on the outside edge. People would think, they're, they're not 100% with it. But when they really needed help from someone, they went to the person who could do this kind of work, right? Because it is not easy work. And the shaman also needs to be able to clear the energy, because what they do is they go in, they dive deep, they get information from some of the hardest spaces, right? Bringing that forth to others to say, this is where the issue is, right? This is where an illness might be coming from, because you have emotions and whatever, ancestral stuff, right, that has not been processed, but you're carrying it, just like DNA, right, cellular structure. You're carrying it, and maybe you haven't had an explanation for what's going on in your life, or why you behave a certain way, or why you do whatever you do. But going to a shaman sometimes will help get that out, and do what's called soul retrieval. And so it's very, very fascinating. And I thought this was really interesting how they named these. And I thought it would be really neat to bring a message through about that for people who handle this kind of stuff better with visuals. Okay? Better with visuals. And the galaxy one, again, it has stars, it has silver circles. So I think about like, sorry, like shooting stars. What are the other one? I don't know. I'm sorry. I am not able to grab the words here right now. It'll come to me though. So we're just gonna let that be. Oh, and then I grabbed this little book here. It's a book with a hand on it, and I am going to tell you who this book is by. It's called Everyday Offerings by Leah Redmond. And I opened it a minute ago. I actually asked for a message. What was the first one? Oh, it was a hummingbird. Yeah, because when I looked in the camera, I had put that bag there today, and it just so happens to have a hummingbird on it. And what the message was pick up the pace. I may not be able to find it this quickly because I lost that page. But I was asking about pick up the pace for what? Pick up the pace for what? And it said protect. So we have a thimble. Pick up the pace and protect. So I'm going to take one more message here and see what else it wants to tell us here. It says cultivate. Pick up the pace and pick up the pace, protect and cultivate. Now, this isn't super exciting, but this has like a worm on it, and so worms are used to break up dirt for when people are going to plant new things. So what are you planting? Okay, so we're just going to set this aside. Now, protect. Now yesterday, and I set this over here because I knew that there was going to be a message in it. So I have this little cross, and it says, with God, all things are possible. And that is Matthew 19:26. It's this little cross here. Okay. But I have this scent pouch that is next to it, and happened to get tipped over. But there is writing on the back, and the way that it was laying right next to the cross, I knew that there was a message in this. And the message is freshen any space. So with God, all things are possible. Freshen any space. So it's like a space is being renewed. A space is being renewed. Okay, a space is being renewed. All right, I'm going to hold that. I'm going to go, let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go to this little deck here called Messages from the Mermaids. I want to see what comes through regarding this message. Oh, and by the way, there is something I want to, that's so interesting. Where it says freshen any space, the other thing that the scent of this package is called Fruity Oriental. Fruity. Now, I almost waited and lit this candle on camera because it's a new candle. It does happen to be yellow. I normally burn white, but sometimes I just like the scent when I'm out and about, and so I will get that. But yellow speaks about standing in your power. But so when we have fruity, and then we have citrus here, so something about standing in your power. With God, all things are possible. Freshen any space. Okay, what would you like to tell us about this with this mermaid cards here, please? Ask for help, you guys. So I just did a reading a little bit ago. Like I said, I haven't posted it yet, but by the time this comes out, that will probably be posted. And it said it's okay to ask for help. Where in your life might you need some help right now? Are you feeling like you're in the forest? I have a motorcycle revving by. Have you feel like you've gone too far into the forest or into the darkness? Do you need help finding your way out into the light? It's okay to ask for help. And if there is not a human by you that you can trust or whatever, ask people. If you can, ask others. But ask God. Ask God to send in help. Ask God to send in help. I have goosebumps all over. She holds I'm sorry, I have so many goosebumps. The shell here, right? And you know how when people have that shell and they listen to it, right? It's like she's putting the message in while she's in the water. Now, the water is representative of our emotions. There's something she's going through that is emotional. She may need some help with, right? Okay, what else do we have? We have trust. It's important to trust yourself at this time, and it's also important to surround yourself with those that you can trust, even if the circle is smaller, right? And sometimes I know that there can be situations where people don't know who to trust, right? But this is what you're looking for. And part of this thing might be asking for help because you're trying to figure out who to trust, okay? All right, here's the next one. Turn away. So interesting, right? With the sprinkles and the forest. This is saying turn away from the darkness. Turn away knowing that the thicket is coming up and you're not ready. This is saying turn away from that which is not serving you, your highest good, or the highest good of all. Turn away from situations that are not good for you. Turn away from people that are not helping you on your journey. Turn away from that which is not aligning with your soul resonance, right? If you have to leave a place, if you have to move, you may have to move homes, for example. You may have to move cities, you may move states, whatever, to a new location to get away from a situation and or people, which also means maintaining privacy. Not everyone needs to know your business. Why? Maybe you've been too trusting. Maybe you have been too trusting. You know what else I want to say that I notice? Here's this mermaid, and she sits among a school of fish. This is like going with everyone else, right? If all the fish, are going that direction, think about when like kids are in high school or whatever, everyone else is doing it, right? Everyone else gets to the school of fish. The group mentality, the group think. But what if that group think is not for the highest and best or the most in alignment with your soul? Turn away from that what does not resonate with you. There's a new school for you, which means a new tribe. You may have to travel alone for a while. You may have some healing work to do in that traveling alone, right? You may have to shed that which no longer serves you. The next one is gentleness. This is interesting because I was shuffling and I saw this card, and I shuffled again and it came back around to the front. Gentleness. So this is like a masculine energy coming in to be gentle. Like, who can you trust? Turn away from those that are not gentle. Be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with others, understanding that maybe you didn't walk in their shoes. You don't know why they think the way that they think. Maybe, right? Maybe you do. Maybe you pick up on all of that. But we're still being called to be gentle. We don't have to go in full force to situations. We can step back. We can be gentle. What's coming to me is when there are videos shown of pets in animal shelters that come in and they have been, all different things, right, have happened, but they're afraid, they're scared. And so the people in the kennel have to be very gentle with these pets that have been through a lot. And this is the same with people, right? Also our earth. Be gentle with our earth. Be gentle with our waters. One of the things that I notice is there's a shark in the background, swimming in the background, but there is somebody else who's holding a light. So be aware of that, of those sharks that are swimming in the background. The next one we have is staying positive, positivity. And I love this. There's purple fish in here, goldfish. She is happy, and she's she has a purple, she's a purple mermaid. Let's just leave it at that, right? Right? And purple also speaks about tapping into our intuition. So ask for help. Find people you can trust. Turn away from that which is not serving you. You don't have to tell everyone all of your stuff. It's okay to observe for a while. It's okay if you have been someone who has been sitting on the edge here, right? You've been sitting on the edge in the forest, and you're maybe you've been going one way or another. You're being encouraged to turn away, to turn towards the light, to be gentle with yourself, and to start feeling your emotions. That's what I'm feeling coming up here. And to do everything you can to stay positive. Now, I want to just again encourage you with color healing. As you can see, I have a lot of color here. I know that I have a busy background, but color is so healing, and I keep it up here because of that. For those who are going through challenging times, these colors can be very healing. So staying positive. If you are struggling, if you can bring joy, orange, into your life, right? Ask yourself, especially if one has been, say, you're on the edge of the forest here, right? And there was addictions or whatever. An overactive joy center, which is represented by orange, can look like indulging too much in things or something or whatever, right? And so it's a way to say, okay, I need to balance out that. It's called the sacral chakra, my joy center. How do I balance out work and play? Because maybe it's been all play, no work, right? And so finding the balance in that, um, even if it's a little bit at a time. It doesn't mean if you've really been going through it and had a long journey, you might have everyone else breathing down your neck, right? Saying, why don't you get a job 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week, but you haven't had a job in however long, and you're nervous, you have anxiety, and then the more they say it, the more anxiety you get because you're having these experiences, right? It's okay to ask for help. Not everyone's going to understand the spiritual journey, so I'm going to tell you going to a metaphysical shop will help. Because it's different than a doctor. It's not, I'm not a doctor, right? It's just different because you start to learn about it. This is all I'm getting at, where there's classes. You can watch stuff online, but don't live online, right? It is all about balance. How much time do we spend, uh, you know, when people say scrolling, 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 right? Because that just hypes you up more. It is taking your power back and saying, no, I'm going to turn this off. I might check something in the morning for 5 minutes and then I turn it off. If if you're working or not or whatever, you have lunch or in the afternoon, maybe you turn it on for a minute or two and then you shut it off. Same thing. This is about getting control back. Because, or even if you say, I give myself 15 minutes, I would do it in the afternoon versus the evening because the blue light can mess with your sleep patterns, which can also throw you off. So, being aware of that, picking up some blue light glasses. All right, what else do we have here? I'm just going to look at the bottom of the deck. There's an inner knowing. You have an inner knowing. It's like this is, if you're tapping into psychic gifts, spiritual gifts, and you happen to you can have this knowing of things, but no one's telling you things. No one's coming and whispering in your ear or sending you mail or writing you a note or a text or an email. It's like there's layers and layers and layers. And it's like you're being given messages because you are tapping into subtle energies. And when you tap into subtle energies that you pick up on that others do not, it can cause anxiety until you learn to manage it. Until you learn that might not be everyone else's normal, but it is yours. And so you just simply have to learn how to work with it, right? Think about if there's a foods that you're allergic to. You have to, and you have something and it doesn't sit well with you. Well, then you do it a couple times and you feel a certain way. It's the same type of thing. You're like, oh, well, okay, now that I know what this stuff is, now I know that I manage where I go, how long I stay, who am I around? Am I always, do I get involved in gossip? Do I get drugged down? Do I get lured into the forest? What is, if I am, think about the word lure. If I am, think about how many movies or television shows that are put out, and the trailer seems kind of lighthearted and whatever, and you're like, yeah, that looks good, and so you start to watch it, but you're watching it and it starts getting darker, but now you're invested. Let's say that starts turning 20-25 minutes in, and so you're invested. Do you stay and watch it because you are invested, or can you stop yourself and say, I see where this is going. I see it. I see it. And I, at this point, am going to turn away from it. I'm just going to shut it off. I'm either going to turn it off totally and redirect my energy within something else that is not that, or I might turn the channel, which is just like a frequency, just like the radio. We turn the channel, we shift our energy to tune into something else that is resonating with us. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to use a deck, and these are it's the blank and it says family edition, but to be honest with you, I don't even know, like, I don't know if it's a game or what, but we're gonna use these cards. There's kind of a lot of them here. We're just gonna see what comes up, because I think that these are things that just to be aware of, or what is testing you, challenging you, getting you to, stirring thoughts up in your head, and recognizing, it's just to do that. Am I getting caught, right? Am I getting caught up? Or am I just letting it go? Okay, first one we have is, what do you think is the hardest thing for me regarding family? So answering that question for yourself. You don't have to ask someone else. What do you think is the hardest thing for me regarding family? Now, the idea of this is asking another, maybe in a relationship, right? And so sometimes we don't see it ourselves because we're too caught up in the storm of it, but an observer looking in can see it clearly. And you might feel like it's judgment, but they're just like, I like, these words, it's not my circus, right? They can just see there's a circus over there. Doesn't mean they're getting all involved. They just happen to see it, and they happen to see how it's affecting you because they love you and or care about you. So what do you think is the hardest thing for me regarding my family? So an outsider might go, well, you're always talking about this and you never even realized how much. Or you might be really aware of it, right? That falls under ask for help. Okay, under trust, we have, what's something you would like me to forgive you for that I am not aware of? Okay, so that's interesting. So what's coming to me is broken trust, right? Broken trust. When you trusted someone and then they broke that trust. What is something you would like for me to forgive you for that I am not aware of? So maybe somebody said something and it hurt you, but you sucked it up because of a situation or the environment, or you just didn't have the energy to go there, or you didn't want to make a situation worse or elevate, escalate something, right? I feel like that is something with a trust issue, right? Okay. Under turn away, how do you feel about the relationships in my life? That falls under turn away. How do you feel about the relationships in my life? Now, I do want to be careful here and say you don't want to give your power away. You can inquire, right? You can talk with someone. But just because, in fact, I heard someone today that said this so perfect, but just because someone says something, that doesn't mean that that is the how do they say it, begin all, end all, right? It's their perception or their perspective from where they've looked at, right? They have not walked in your shoes. They haven't seen everything. They haven't heard every conversation, right? And you very much haven't shared everything with them, because that would be impossible to do, to literally share everything you've ever heard, seen, felt, that would be impossible to do as far as speaking that. So what do you need to do? You need to be able to tap in and have your inner knowing. Under gentleness, how do you think I want to be perceived? How do you think I want to be perceived? Gentle. Gentleness. Under positivity, we have, when were you the most worried for me? It's interesting that that falls under that. I'm feeling guided to take another one. Oh, you know what's coming to me? What is coming to me is the idea is if someone had been using or drinking or whatever that was, and they were super excited and, you know, kind of off the charts with whatever, and very positive, somebody might have been very concerned about them. Not that they didn't want them to be positive, but they may have been concerned about them because they recognized it as being, I don't know, the word that's coming to me is a false positive, right? A false positive, meaning it was induced, if you will. Okay, on the bottom of this deck we have, what do you think is the hardest thing about the choices that I have made? What do you think, oh, I got two here, is the hardest thing about the choices that I have made? And then what, I like this one, what do you think that I was born to do? I had a conversation with someone, I don't even know, recently, and that is it. Sometimes we might have a lot of interest, but when we listen and we hear other people say, you really have a talent for this or a knack for that, or you're so good at this, right? And it's not about stroking the ego. It's just that somebody else really sees it and they share that with you, right? It could be a parent, you know, just, or an uncle or somebody, and saying, wow, you know, I see this in you. Let's nurture that, right? And one more. What change in me could I make to improve my relationship with my parents? What change in me could I make to improve my relationship with my parents? So again, asking an outside person, what are they observing in that relationship between you and your parents, and not saying, well, your parents could do this, but how this person is asking, what change could they make? You know, I have a coffee cup that says, be the change in the world, right? Or be the change you want to see. Okay, and then when we split this deck, let's just pick one. What do you think is my biggest challenge right now? What do you think is my biggest challenge right now? I'm going to keep that open, and then I'm going to go to, oh, this is actually interesting. I picked this deck called the Values card. The Values cards. So let's just talk about one's values. To consider, right? Values to consider. What do you think is the hardest thing for me regarding family and asking for help? We have independence. Are you working to be very independent, right? Just trying to make it on your own, trying to do your own thing. And this is saying ask for help. Okay. It is green, representative of the heart chakra. Okay, under trust, what's something you'd like me to forgive you for that I am not aware of? Okay. It's purple. The words that are coming to me is trust your intuition on this, but I'm still going to take another one here. What's something you'd like me to forgive you for that I am not aware of? Trusting that someone doesn't trust someone's intuition. Okay, I'm still going to take another one because that's what I'm feeling. I have the word winning, which I find really interesting. Trust your intuition, you're winning. What's something you'd like me to forgive you for that I am not aware of? Winning. Okay. Something is coming to me about a court case. Winning a court case. Winning, it's like winning a court case is what's coming to me. Okay. Oh, yeah, I have goosebumps, including custody. Okay. Okay. Turn away. We have challenge. How do you feel about the relationships in my heart or in my life? Now, the word challenge is on a green card, which speaks of the heart chakra. Okay. So this person is saying this is like turn away, possibly from a relationship in your life, like fish in the sea. There's more fish in the sea. How do you feel about the relationships in my life? They could be posing some type of a challenge, being encouraged to turn away from a situation, possibly. Oh, okay. So this is the one here that wants to come out. Let's see. Oh, it's actually two, so I'm going to set this down. Okay, the first one under gentleness. How do you think I want to be perceived? Now, this is really interesting because what came to me is Poseidon. Like the water, I don't know. I don't know that I'm going to say this right. Like the Water King, and actually is really interesting about a dream I had last night. But gentleness, orderly, right? Want someone to be gentle, and they want to be seen as gentle and orderly, in order. And also because two fell out, passionate. With green, they have a passionate heart. It's not orange about like the Joy Center here. We're talking about a passion for life, for love, for living, right? A passion. Okay, so we're going to shuffle this again. If I just have to say this. If I had taken that passion card and put it on the next pile here, it would have sat with the positivity. And when were you most worried about me? When somebody was passionate and positive, where if they were, at that situation. Let's just take one here for that. Okay, positivity and nurture. When were you most worried for me? Nurture. When they needed nurturing. I just feel like I have to take another one though. Yeah. They needed nurturing because they want acceptance. They want acceptance. Okay. On the bottom of the deck, we have adventure. A value. Think about it, a value of adventure. Do you value adventure? That's the question. Do you value inner peace? These are subconscious, in the subconscious, right? And do you value nature? Getting out in nature and being in nature. Okay. I'm going to take the next one just simply because, and I'm not going to look anymore, but I saw it. It's dignity. Do you value dignity? Okay, so that is the message there. Now I want to take a message from the Daily Word magazine. And let's see what message is going to come up here. Oh, that was a calendar. Enthusiasm, and the date is September 27th. The day happens to be a Wednesday. Today is a Wednesday. Okay, so even with enthusiasm, we have positivity, okay? So let's just take that. With enthusiasm, I enjoy all life has to offer. The world becomes more interesting, and when I become more interested in it, right? I turn away from the forest because I'm possibly being lured in, or having shade thrown on me by others, or choosing to remain in the shade because one is growing accustomed to it, right? So again, the world becomes more interesting when I become more interested in it. I remember this when I wish to rekindle my enthusiasm. Think about you're here in the forest, and what happens? A rainbow comes along, rekindling your enthusiasm, showing you that there is more. Our earth home is a wondrous place filled with amazing people and a stunning diversity of life. And when I think all there is to learn and discover, how could I not be enthusiastic? I could also undertake a journey of discovery within myself. That's going within. And so also the forest can look like that, where we're taking a deep dive within. We are facing our shadows. We're looking at our inner child. We're looking at what needs to be healed. What's coming up? Why do things hurt? Because we didn't get to deal with them at certain phases of our life. And different things happen, moon cycles, different things come up, and all of a sudden we're feeling emotion, have a memory come up, a song pops up, type of food, we drive by a place, we hear a song on the radio, right? A trigger to help remember so that it comes up so we can do the healing work, right? So again, I also undertake a journey of discovery within myself as I delve into the awesome mystery of God. I learn even more about myself. My spiritual practices broaden my awareness of the divine and my power and potential as a divine being. I grow in enthusiasm as I live from my spiritual nature, using my creative power to direct my life and to be a blessing of love and service in the lives of others. Render service with enthusiasm as to the Lord and not to men and women. Ephesians 6:7. A beautiful message and a beautiful way. Oh, I'm going to go. You know what? I want to take one more thing. I apologize. I picked up this little book and it dropped. I can't remember. It got knocked off a shelf. That's what happened. So when I opened it, and I hadn't opened it yet, and it just talks about understanding the circle. So this is so perfect for this message. When you're upset, believing all the negative thoughts whizzing through your brain, that can make you feel worse. It can even affect how other people treat you. So I want to go back and just talk about a moment about what I was saying about this other person brought up today. And it was about working to remember that you are not the stories or whatever people told you you were. If people told you you weren't enough, if people told you you weren't good enough, fast enough, smart enough, whatever all of that stuff is, because it's like it's handed out on a silver platter, but all of a sudden these people will fall out of your life, but what have they left you with? That same thing. You're still like, are you still thinking the way whatever somebody said to you or threw shade at you about? Now I want you to think about the elephant situation, when a baby elephant, right, is little and they put a chain on a baby elephant's leg. The baby can't get away, so eventually it stops trying. And so what she was talking about is this same type of thing, to say, because the baby elephant just thinks, I can't, even though it's a huge elephant, it could very easily pull that chain. They've been programmed, if you will, to say they can't break that chain. But you guys, we are here to break these chains. We are here to break the chains that bind us. We are rising up. We are ascending. We are turning away from that which is no longer, it's just not for our highest good or the highest good of all, right? We're stepping into nurturing. We're opening our heart, having conversations that make a difference, right? That make a difference. So what this says is, your emotions, and it's called the circle of emotions. Your emotions affect your thoughts. Your thoughts affect your behavior. So what you're thinking about, how are you going to behave? So you're feeling sad about one thing, let's just say, or whatever these are. Your emotions affect your thoughts. Your thoughts affect behavior. Your behavior affects other people's reactions. And then what happens? Their reactions affect your emotions. Because what does it make you feel? Sad. So if you're feeling sad, and your thoughts are, why am I feeling sad? And then they affect your behavior. Maybe you start to close down a little bit, right? And then it affects other people's reactions, because they might go, why are you so closed down? Why are you like that, right? And then what happens? In turn, it affects your emotions again. So it just keeps going in circles and circles. So when we start to say, now the key word here is their reactions, because they're simply reacting. They're not responding to your emotions. And we're not always going to see that people will respond to our emotions. Emotions can make other people feel very uncomfortable. Say you and a girlfriend are talking, and whatever, one of you break out crying, and the husband was kind of around. Next thing you know, he's getting real busy and he wants to go out in the garage, right? Because he don't feel comfortable. He don't want to be around anyone crying. That makes him feel really uncomfortable, right? So then what do you think? You're like, oh, now he went out in the garage and I feel bad, right? It affects your thoughts. Your thought affects your behavior. Well, do you feel safe enough to go and talk with your friend again and cry there, even if her husband's around, right? Now do you shift that behavior? And then your behavior affects other people's reactions. So it is a circle. So it's like, how do we get out of the circle? So I'm about to I have to stop. This video is going to be done here. So I gotta wrap it up with space. But I want to say thanks for joining me. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope this message was helpful for you. Take care.